Hello everyone and welcome back to PASSTHEauxCORD. For the first video in a series of videos excluding the podcast episode that just went up, we're going to do the top 20 worst songs of 2024. This was a year with a lot of ups, a lot of downs, very little in the middle oddly, but we got some real crazy ones to talk about in this. Honorable mentions. Some things that just didn't quite make the cut for one reason or another.
Let's look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo, my pockets are fat. Homie, I'm epic. Don't be a wap.
We got Tom MacDonald and Ben Shapiro with Facts. I refuse to put Tom MacDonald on my list anymore. I will not do it. He will not get an official placement. Notice I have none of his solo songs on here, but having a Ben Shapiro rap feature. Yes, Ben Shapiro, the guy who says rap isn't music, rapping on your rap song is just strange. It's just strange. I don't know. It's a moment. It's one I had to mention. And it's from like the two most annoying people. Like just period, I think. Song's bad, but like, oh no, who would have guessed?
Hey yo, fuck blind people.
Then we got Eminem with Trouble. This is a like 40-second song, I think. And it's taken up that whole angle of, oh, Slim Shady's back and he's gonna get himself canceled. Oh no. It was just depressing. I don't think that any of the individual songs were bad enough to put on the list. And then we got Future with Plutowski, the most funny bad song of the year for sure. Mumble rap has never been taken this literally. He is actually half asleep all the way through the hook on this thing. Whether that was an aesthetic choice or just like some sort of illness taking place, I really have no idea, but the song kind of sounds normal and then the hook comes in and it's such a strange little moment. To get right into the list here, we got number 20. We got When Will the Time of These Bastards End by The Voids. Now, I fully realize that within anyone who's been watching this channel thus far, this is probably going to be a pretty controversial pick, but the fall off is astronomical, and I feel like that's never been more evident than this particular song. It spans across several minutes of a narrative that doesn't really quite make sense, and really this entire Voids album as a whole kind of just felt like aimless rambling, but this being the closer of it really sealed the deal and solidified that. The vocal effects across the whole album were pretty ridiculous and oddly comparable to their previous work in a way that makes their previous work look worse. But the vocals on here, towards the end here, it sounds like bro just morphs into a fucking Halloween decoration out of nowhere. This down-pitched, comical, cartoonish delivery is truly absurd. For the most part, it sounds like something that would have landed on Muse's last album from the year prior, but a little bit more like something off of a Benadryl trip fever dream situation. Next up we have Camila Cabello featuring Playboi Carti with I Love It. This was the lead single to her CXOXO album. This ended up being a bad omen for the album just to start off with, but truly, I do think that it ended up being the worst song on it. The production here is leaning into some hyperpop stuff, but feels like a really tacky representation of it. Very fake, very formulaic, really just playing into the tropes of the genre and not going far enough with it to make something interesting, like an album like Brat did the same year right before it. And then we get to Playboi Carti doing this deep voice, raspy thing, not making any sense, which I suppose is kind of par for the course, but just feels so out of place over an instrumental like this. I want to give points for the Gucci Mane interpolation thing that happens here, because that sounds good, because it's an interpolation of a good song, but just go listen to the good song, I guess. With all my hellbound hands, Number 18, I decided to go with Devil I've Been by Post Malone off of his F1 Trillion album that came out this year. This entire album just feels like a really ugly look for Post Malone, given how he came up on hip hop, making this entire big sudden left turn into bro country and getting just about everyone who already makes bad music in the scene to hop on this album feels like a really distasteful move. Nowhere on the album does it feel more distasteful than this song, because it's kind of shaming his past self for like sinful actions, bringing his friends of the time down with him narratively, and that reads to me really ugly when you look at the dynamic. But it doesn't sound good either. It's like pop country generic bullshit.
She give me dome, she give me hit like a comb, she give me dome, she give me hit like a comb.
Number 16, we got Meteor Man by Lil Uzi Vert. Could have went with numerous songs from this album, but oddly, there's plenty of songs that are actually totally acceptable too. I think what we've learned in 2024 is that some drugs, supposedly helped create some of the better albums of all time, but the whole galaxy gas situation that we found ourselves in 2024 is not helpful, as it does sound like he was using the galaxy gas within the actual recording of the song here, possibly for the one that follows it, Pars and the Mars, which was also a contender for this list. When it all really comes down to it, I had to go down to the one where they're repeating "She give me head like a comb" numerous times. Beyond that, also repeats "This is an aura" in like a down-pitched thing. Again, immediately strikes as dated on impact almost, just due to the whole aura meme thing kind of already running its course. I mean, memes last like 5 seconds, so this one will look even worse if you come back to it more and more in the future. The different phases of this song don't feel like they go together. The effects on the vocals are strange at best. Kind of what I was saying with the Void song, where this feels like some sort of Benadryl trip fever dream situation.
When I was a kid, I would go to McDonald's. I would never order the small. I would get it big.
Next up, we got at number 15, Big by Usher. All caps, of course, because it's big. The song sounds outdated in the general scope of pop music and R&B, I suppose, as well. So much so that you can play his stuff from like the 2000s and 90s and it just sounds more with the times than this song does, because this is taking something that sounded mainstream, regular, you were used to it a good like 7 years ago or so. I'm getting that mostly from like the MIDI horns all over this and just the presentation of the chorus, the delivery across certain bits in here. But really that McDonald's line just kind of sends it all home. The entire concept of this song lyrically is just so corny. Like the subtle innuendo of it.
I like sexting. I like vodka.
I feel like there's been a bit of a jump into a worse quality section here with this next pick, but it's getting insane already. At number 14, we got Kim Petras. This slut pop Miami record was a wild one to listen to, no doubt about that. As I came back to it, I absolutely had to pick was the song Cock Blocker for having one of the most irritating vocal inflections, one of the most absurdly bad set of lyrics I've ever seen on a song. Just with every line in this verse where she says, I like this thing, I like this thing, over and over again, just it gets worse. It's insane how bad the lyrics get here. And as a lot of this project did, it sounds like club music from, a good 10 years ago. This wouldn't have felt out of place sonically speaking in something that I would have heard on pop radio growing up, but certainly not now. It's dance music from an era that is dead and does not feel like good revivalism of it, while having some of the most insanely bad lyrics and vocal inflections, I guess. Number 13, we have JoJo Siwa, Balance Baby. I feel like a JoJo Siwa song was obligatory on here, and this just happens to be my least favorite of the bunch that I've heard from her. Oddly enough, it actually shares a lot of traits sonically and some lyrically even with the song that came right before it. However, nowhere near as obnoxious with any of it, and instead it just kind of lives in this really mediocre realm. There's a co-writing credit with Meghan Trainor on this one, I do believe, and that just fits for some reason. But across this EP that she released, and honestly I think some of the other songs independent of it, most of the songs were just purchased, and they were just pop songs that were pretty generic but already existed. One of them on there I think actually sounds pretty good, even though she did practically nothing with it compared to the original artist. But this one would have been bad no matter who was behind it.
You take the snow. It's way too cold. My heart is cold enough.
Number 12, we got Imagine Dragons with one of the tackiest pop songs I have ever heard on Take Me to the Beach. This is a criticism that I feel like is used a lot by me and by others, but I have never heard a song so commercial ready, and I mean that like literally a TV commercial. Any kind of vacation location, advertising, a resort, even like a booking service, that feels like it's what it was made for, although I don't even know if that's been successful. I don't really hear this song anywhere. Some very cringe lyrics across it, but not in like an extremely egregious way, more in a mid but like distasteful and subtly unlikable way. And just this huge, bombastic, over-the-top chorus for no fucking reason. Number 11 brings us Katy Perry with Gimme Gimme featuring 21 Savage. This whole album was filled to the brim with bad music, but the most obnoxious was definitely this song, Gimme Gimme. At least to me, I feel like maybe Woman's World deserves this spot a little bit more due to the sentiments of it and just kind of the botched, terrible looking moment that it was. But having 21 Savage and Katy Perry have this just completely uncharismatic chemistry here, 21 Savage verse that just doesn't fit in at all, really pushes it over the edge into something almost special with just the weirdly bad moment that it is. Now we're getting into the territory of songs that I already covered on the New Music Podcast episode. We did our top 10 worst songs on there, but if I sound like I'm repeating myself a bit, that's why.
Mother, wait a second. That's that one record where you say you got molested off.
But at number 10 here, we got Drake with The Heart Part 6. The start of the end for Drake was definitely when Meet the Grams dropped in the whole beef, but this song was the nail in the coffin and maybe the stupidest way he ever could have ended it. He doesn't really back up any of his claims, makes claims that feel in line with TMZ drama, really grandiose scale versus like something so down here and something disproven at this point as well. Over a really uninteresting beat that goes pretty much nowhere. I feel like Family Matters really saw Drake locking in. I feel like that's one of the best performances we've seen from him in years. So it seems like he needed to get a fire lit under his ass to make something that was beyond mid. Don't think that the following events really went how he thought they would. Terrible response, really just sealed the deal on who won the beef definitively. It just keeps getting worse considering the lawsuit thing that's happening now. God.
She said she was gay until I slayed. Now she's strictly diggly. As soon as she pays, I'm on the way, and I'll be showing her quickly.
At number 9, we have something somewhat related but adjacent to the beef. We have Cash Cobain with J. Cole. Grippy. I brought this up before on the podcast episode, but I think there's some validity in assuming that Kendrick had some crazy dirt on Drake and J. Cole, making them do guest features immediately following the beef that were ridiculously bad. It was either that or just to get people talking again to avoid controversy, I guess. Either way, I have not heard J. Cole's discography. I will go out and admit that. But I have not heard a lyrical or vocal performance from him worse than what he lays down all throughout the start of the song. Truly, it plays more like a J. Cole song featuring Cash Cobain, and Cash Cobain's part is boring and forgettable. If it was just that, it would be kind of like a whatever cloud rap sort of kind of song. Jumpy, segmented flow that he comes through with is strange, but I feel like everybody knows what I'm talking about and just how this was written and how badly that came across.
Cause I know a guy, he piggy but he slum. You'll never catch me doing time.
Number 8, we have Lil Mabu with Like a Cop. Now, I really feel like there's a number of these somewhat meme rappers that are just like white suburban kids that you could put all over this list. This is a drill song by someone who openly embraces just being like a trust fund baby, basically rich and successful off of the success that was handed down to them, which is already out of touch and distasteful if you're going to make this aggressive sort of rap music. To take that distastefulness way higher, this song sees Lil Mabu essentially bragging that he has a cop friend so he can get away with doing whatever he wants, which is so out of touch. There were other songs by Lil Mabu that were worse in sound. I mean, Oppie Day was fucking ridiculous, and that interpolation in there was stupid. Big Dog Shit was also annoying and had a random child featured on it out of nowhere. But overall, this one leaves me with the worst taste in my mouth by far.
The only thing you really need is a husband.
Number 7, of course, Kanye West, Ty Dolla $ign's collaboration, Yen Dollar, whatever you want to say, with the Vultures 1 and 2 albums could not be left off of this list entirely. While there's many songs that I think sound somewhat redeeming, not written, but sound somewhat redeeming on the first Vultures project, the second one didn't really even have that going for it. Maybe the worst example has got to be Husband. Coming back to it more and more, I just can't find anything to like about this. Sees Kanye taking a really gross angle lyrically, but there's also this like little crackly thing behind his voice the whole time, which leads me to believe this was one of the AI songs, but I don't know if that's confirmed or not. All I know is Sky City for sure. I can't really speak on the rest, but it sounds like it could be AI. And best case scenario, if it's not AI, it is terribly mixed over a completely boring, completely stagnant beat that does nothing. And it's just kind of him rambling over it for a few minutes. It feels so much longer than it is. Number 6, we have Motley Crue with Cancelled. Holy fuck, I have never seen such a fall off from one of the kind of legendary tier rock bands. Not that Motley Crue was ever exactly one of the most respected or anything, but they tend to do this thing as of recently where they come back after like 20 to 40 years and just drop mid. Mid is certainly exactly how this song sounds to an infuriating extent. It's just the radio butt rock bullshit that's been clogging up the rock radios for God knows how long. It's got no real edge or substance to the sound of it. It's just something you've heard a billion times over again by now. Where this song really gets its placement on this list is the lyrics and the sentiment of it. The song's called Cancelled. I mean, you know what you're getting into probably, but it gets worse. Disgusting. Just gross.
We voted Donald Trump, baby. America needs saving.
And number 5, we have something unfortunately somewhat similar. It is Forgiato Blow with Trump Baby, which as the title would suggest is a parody of Ice Ice Baby, or at least interpolation and somewhat recreation of it. It's just as bad as you'd expect. Was it meant to be a joke? Was it meant to be like an anthem for the presidency, the campaign, etc.? The intention of it is actually kind of foggy the more and more I think about it. Either way, the intention wasn't good. obviously. Song just sucks though. Like, it's it's a bad song anyways. What do you want me to say? And we're gonna see a running trend of semi-parodies from this point forward.
There's a 40 in my jeans.
At number 4, we got Snow Day featuring Drake, Wagwan Delilah. Yeah. Yep, that's a song. That's a song that exists. No doubt about that. You kind of get everything you need from the title. It's like Toronto slang terribly delivered through the lens of Hey There Delilah, which was already like a pretty bad song to begin with. But Snow Day's actual like vocal inflection and rapping here is impressively shitty, and then Drake doesn't come on and sound much better, which is kind of insane given resources he has available to him. Such a like random artist to appear on a song for, which also can be said about the J. Cole song we already mentioned. Really a strange moment, but a pretty embarrassing one, I would say. Number 3, and the last in this little trend in the list of parody, almost, sort of, kind of, heavily interpolated type songs. MGK featuring Jelly Roll. Two of the least favorite people in music I've had all year, with Lonely Road. Taking a classic, or at least, you know, a very well-known song, just completely butchering the shit out of it. He's kind of doing his emo rap thing here, MGK, I mean, kind of doing a weird little country tilt flavor on all of it, adding some of the pop-punk elements. It's like the worst of every MGK era, and then add on a country twang. I can't find anything to like about Jelly Roll's performance on anything I've heard him on so far either. So far, all I've seen is him like ruining songs. So Jelly Roll, Jelly Rolls.
I'm the bad guy, I'm a savage.
Number 2, we got Falling in Reverse, Bad Guy. I feel like I've said so much about Ronnie and I guess his band Falling in Reverse that I don't want to say hardly any more. Everything released by Falling in Reverse this year was consistently infuriating, and the popular Monster album that this comes off of is one where you could pick almost any song once again. But Bad Guy does stand out to me in a couple ways in particular. The lyrics on anything Falling in Reverse related whatsoever are going to be pretty surface level, pretty bland, pretty uncomplicatedly shitty. But the sentiment of this one and the lyrical angle that it takes up is so simplistic that it makes me wonder what the fuck the point being made even was. He just repeats this same idea of him being a bad person. I guess he's being sarcastic, but it comes across like just an acknowledgement. But then brings on a feature to confirm it, I guess? She's just saying the same thing he said. So it's like, well, it wasn't enough for me to say I'm a piece of shit. I gotta bring somebody else on to do it too. It's kind of like, yeah, we noticed, man.
Realized in that moment I've never seen a Mexicano's dick before. Spit on a dick.
And number 1 worst song of the year, I gotta give it to Lil Dicky, Jail Part 1. What the fuck is this song? So it's 9 minutes long, makes me listen to Lil Dicky rapping across all of it, which, you know, there's a lot of things I'd rather do. Comes at the end of an already horrifically bad album, and there's a couple other standout picks that normally absolutely would have gotten on a list like this, but since I'm limiting it to one per artist, I can't just fill the entire list with Lil Dicky songs. I went through and explained the narrative of the song on the podcast. Honestly, I'm not sure the algorithm was too happy about that, so I'm not going to here. Brave ones among you, you might want to just go ahead and take a look at the song. Maybe sit through the whole 9 minutes of it and just fully experience how unfunny this incredibly long-running joke is. Because, again, comedy rapper, like, remember that. This is supposed to be funny. There's no funny in this fucking song. It's just stupid. Stupid as hell. One of the most unenjoyable listens, and essentially a 9-minute joke with no punchline. Maybe it's the one that 2024 deserved. Just kind of even the playing field a little bit. Alright, so all of that done, that's just about gonna wrap it up for this one. We got more lists coming for you here. There is going to be a podcast episode up soon going over the best songs and albums of 2024. We already posted one that is the worst songs and albums of 2021. That'll be linked below if you're interested in more of a conversation type deal, covering some more stuff as well. Some input from my co-host, of course, and just a little bit of a different formatting, but still more bad music to be explored. And if you liked what you saw here today, a like on the video would be greatly appreciated. You can also subscribe to the channel for more music-related content coming your way. That's just about it, and I will see you in the next video.